If natural selection is a ruthless, unforgiving machine designed to weed out anything that doesn't directly lead to reproduction, then why hasn't nature completely erased same-sex behavior from the genetic chessboard? For decades, modern society has fiercely debated this topic, with certain groups still labeling it a psychological glitch or a fatal biological dead end that defies the fundamental laws of survival. But let's look at this purely through the cold, objective lens of science. If this were truly a defective manufacturing error in our DNA, Mother Nature, an entity entirely devoid of mercy or sentimentality, would have quietly swept it into the dustbin of extinction millions of years ago. Instead, for reasons that might deeply challenge what you think you know about biology, she meticulously protected it. Today, we are opening an evolutionary file that completely flips our understanding of nature's most mysterious blueprints. Picture the scene. It is 2011, under the overcast, chilly skies of the Czech Republic. A team of researchers is kneeling in the damp, heavy clay, carefully using small trowels and brushes to peel back 5,000 years of silent earth. What emerges from the shadows of the Neolithic period is a remarkably preserved skeleton. An immediate anatomical analysis of the skull and the robust, broad shoulder structure points to an undeniable conclusion. This was a biological male, and a heavily built, muscular one at that. However, as the academic lens zooms out to take in the entire burial trench, a chilling paradox reveals itself, directly challenging the established norms of ancient anthropology. In prehistoric societies, where the grueling realities of survival dictated incredibly strict burial rites, men were traditionally laid to rest on their right side, accompanied by razor-sharp stone daggers and hunting spears to protect them in the afterlife. But this muscular individual was positioned in the exact opposite direction, lying quietly on his left side, his face turned toward the east. And even more surprisingly, at his feet, there were no weapons. Instead, the mourners from 5 millennia ago had carefully placed domestic clay jugs and oval-shaped pots, items that were strictly designated as the exclusive burial rites for women. In an era where a single mistake in a religious ritual could be perceived as a curse that might wipe out a whole tribe, anthropologists hypothesized that this was absolutely not a random clerical error made by primitive minds. Charles Darwin's theory of evolution laid out a chillingly simple ecological law: survive and reproduce. Any individual that successfully passes its genetic material to the next generation wins the game. Any biological trait that does not directly contribute to the proliferation of offspring is mercilessly cut away by the scythe of natural selection. For billions of years, every breathing organism on this planet has been forced to compete under this blood-soaked rulebook. Yet, upon this seemingly flawless ecological chessboard, there has always been a piece moving in a completely unpredictable direction. A biological phenomenon that seemingly ignores the primal urge to multiply. And researchers note that this is not some modern behavioral trend born under the neon lights of the 21st century. Let us step into the time machine and drop down into the flickering, oil-lit shadows of a banquet hall in 5th century BC Athens. Under the hands of master artisans, a very specific and intimate scene was repeatedly painted onto the surfaces of black and red figure pottery. A mature, older man gently holding the chin of a young boy, their eyes locked in an intense, quiet space. The ancient Greeks referred to this complex emotional and social ecosystem as Erastes and Eromenos. It was a structured relationship where the older male imparted survival wisdom, philosophy, and life skills to the younger generation through a deeply bonded connection. Today, these ancient artifacts sit quietly behind the thick glass display cases of institutions like the British Museum. To our ancestors thousands of years ago, this behavior was not a dark taboo to be hidden in underground cellars, but a natural, openly acknowledged interaction in their daily lives. The shadow of archaeology stretches further, reaching the doomed Roman Empire. In the year 79 AD, the catastrophic eruption of Mount Vesuvius suddenly buried the entire bustling city of Pompeii under a suffocating pitch-black curtain of volcanic ash and scorching pumice. Centuries later, when excavators finally dug through the thick layer of the death zone, they were met with stunningly preserved frescoes and intricate mosaic floors. On those cold stone walls, they found explicit depictions of men resting their heads on each other's shoulders, leaning in with a level of physical intimacy that extends far beyond casual friendship. The most haunting discovery from the ashes was the skeletal remains of two individuals found locked in a desperate, eternal embrace as the pyroclastic flow consumed them. While historians cannot determine the absolute nature of their relationship, it is glaringly obvious that the Romans did not view same-sex intimacy as a bizarre or alien concept. As we shift our academic lens toward the east, the blistering sun beats down on the rough, weathered sandstone walls of the Khajuraho temples in India. Carved over 1,000 years ago, hundreds of intricate stone reliefs cascade down the exterior of the sacred structures. While the vast majority depict heterosexual couples, carefully intertwined among them are carvings of two men locked in deeply intimate, erotic embraces. This suggests that ancient Indian civilizations possessed a spectrum of love and biology that was far wider and more complex than modern historical assumptions. Even moving forward to the Edo period in Japan, stretching from the 17th to the 19th century, the quiet, meticulous artisan workshops produced a genre of erotic woodblock prints known as shunga. While mostly focused on men and women, researchers have cataloged rare but undeniable prints depicting profound physical intimacy between two adult women, as well as between men. From the olive groves of Greece to the ashes of Rome, from the sacred temples of India to the paper sliding doors of Japan. Across completely different continents, separated by vast oceans, religions, and eras, this behavioral pattern repeatedly surfaces from the depths of history like a primal instinct. However, viewing this through the strict logic of evolutionary biology presents a massive contradiction. According to the textbook rules, any individual carrying this non-reproductive trait should leave no descendants. Their genes should be completely diluted and erased after just a few generations. The evolutionary shears of natural selection have always operated with this exact ruthless efficiency. But the ecological reality tells a completely opposite, fascinating story. Out on the freezing, windswept plains, evolutionary biologists spent years meticulously observing herds of wild sheep, only to find themselves completely baffled. Approximately 8% of the wild rams showed absolutely zero interest in the females, dedicating all their attention and courtship rituals exclusively to other males. That is almost 1 in every 10 individuals. And the list expands exponentially from there. From the tightly bonded pairs of king penguins huddling in the bone-chilling blizzards of the Antarctic ice shelves, to the microscopic fruit flies buzzing inside sterile laboratory enclosures. Whether we are looking at mammals, birds, insects, or fish, conservative scientific estimates confirm that homosexual behavior is firmly documented in at least 1,500 different species, and the true number hiding in the vast unexplored wilderness is likely much higher. So, we must ask the critical question: is this just a random, short-lived mutation? Absolutely not. Archaeology and biology have firmly established that this is a deeply rooted, incredibly complex genetic trait woven tightly into the very fabric of life on Earth. To understand this paradox, we must look at our DNA not as a rigid, unyielding blueprint, but as an incredibly shrewd, calculating investor. The ultimate goal of this microscopic investor is simple: spread as many copies of itself into the future as possible. But does an individual strictly have to reproduce directly to achieve this? Absolutely not. Enter the concept of kin selection. Think of it as a biological family trust fund. You share roughly 50% of your genetic makeup with your siblings, and about 25% with your nieces and nephews. If an individual forgoes direct reproduction but instead acts as a devoted guardian, bringing food, fighting off predators, and warming the young in the freezing night, the survival rate of those nephews and nieces skyrockets. The individual's genetic copies are still securely passed down through the bloodline. Is this just a neat theory cooked up in a sterile laboratory? Hardly. Let us travel to the humid, sun-drenched islands of Samoa in the Pacific Ocean. Here, evolutionary psychologists spent over 2 decades meticulously tracking a unique group of people known as the Fa'afafine, biologically male but living with a feminine identity. This third gender does not directly bear children. Yet, as researchers sifted through mountains of behavioral data, a staggering, goosebump-inducing pattern emerged. The Fa'afafine were pouring an overwhelming amount of their time, economic resources, and emotional energy exclusively into their nieces and nephews. They were, in evolutionary terms, super-uncles. Because of this hyper-focused devotion, the children in their extended families survived and thrived at significantly higher rates than those in neighboring bloodlines. This was nature's clever diversification strategy at work. But the puzzle deepens even further. What happens when the exact same gene is placed in a male body versus a female body? Scientists call this sexually antagonistic selection. It acts like a biological seesaw. An intriguing study from Italy revealed a fascinating pattern. The mothers and maternal aunts of homosexual men tended to have significantly more children than the average population. The hypothesis suggests that the very same genetic sequence that might decrease direct reproduction in a male acts as a powerful fertility booster when expressed in a female. The individual loss is completely offset by the overwhelming genetic profit of the family line. Evolution, operating with cold, mathematical precision, perfectly balances the ledger. For decades, the global media chased the myth of a single gay gene, a master switch waiting to be flipped. In 1993, the discovery of a genetic marker called XQ28 sparked a worldwide frenzy. But 26 years later, a monumental study published in the journal Science permanently shattered that illusion. After analyzing the DNA of nearly 500,000 individuals, the conclusion was absolute. There is no single gay gene. Instead, human sexuality is driven by thousands of different genetic markers, each making a microscopic contribution. Imagine a massive audio mixing board with hundreds of equalizers sliding up and down, blending together to create a complex symphony. More importantly, these genetic markers are deeply intertwined with other crucial survival traits, like immune system strength and cognitive development. You cannot simply snip out this trait without collapsing the entire biological architecture. And if you think this is just a passive genetic byproduct, look up into the dense, green canopy of the primate world. In the 2020s, primatologists were stunned to observe that 72% of male macaque monkeys engaged in intense, same-sex physical contact. This was not just play. It was a highly strategic political maneuver. During terrifying moments of crisis, like a sudden food shortage or the approach of a lethal predator, these intimate bonds acted as an unbreakable social glue. Males who engaged in these relationships formed tight-knit alliances, violently defending each other against rivals. Consequently, their social rank skyrocketed. And the ultimate evolutionary irony? Their elevated status eventually granted them significantly more access to female mates. In the world of our closest genetic relatives, the bonobos, the dynamic is even more profound. Bonobo society is fiercely matriarchal, ruled by unbreakable female alliances. To protect themselves and their vulnerable infants from the aggression of wandering males, female bonobos forge deep, sexual bonds with one another. This sisterhood ensures they can jointly raise their offspring, share scarce resources, and collectively fend off external threats. Their physical intimacy is the absolute bedrock of their survival insurance. Diversity is nature's ultimate armor. Just as a monoculture farm of a single potato variant was utterly decimated during the Irish famine, a genetically uniform population is highly vulnerable to disease and environmental collapse. A tribe equipped with a mix of breeders, devoted helpers, and strategic alliance builders is a fortress. Evolution did not treat this difference as a bug. It utilized it as a vital feature. This profound understanding brings us to our final haunting piece of evidence. In 2009, beneath the cold soil of Modena, Italy, archaeologists unearthed a stunning burial site dating back 1,600 years. Two skeletons were lying side by side, their bony hands tightly clasped together for eternity. The world immediately romanticized them as the Lovers of Modena, assuming they were a tragic man and woman defying death. But in 2019, cutting-edge dental protein analysis delivered a breathtaking plot twist. Both skeletons belonged to robust, adult males. Were they brothers forged in the blood of battle, or lovers who shared a profound, unbreakable bond? We may never know their exact story. But one truth remains undeniable. 16 centuries ago, someone who buried them recognized the immense power of their connection, ensuring their hands would never part in the dark earth. The 1,500 species, the king penguins, the macaques, the Samoan fine. They are not errors in the system. They are the system. Nature is far more flexible, diverse, and intelligent than our rigid human categories. So, the next time you look at the vast, chaotic beauty of the natural world, remember that survival is not just about raw power or multiplying. It is about the intricate, invisible bonds that hold a species together against the unforgiving test of time. If you are fascinated by the hidden truths of our planet and the dark, awe-inspiring secrets of human evolution, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment below. Join us on this continuous journey to uncover the forgotten lives and the grand mysteries of Earth's history. Until next time, keep questioning the world around you.